Hello everybody, how are you going? Welcome to apparently the best winter activities to do in Banff, of course, in Canada.
There are some places you have to visit at least once in your life, and this is one of them. It's Alberta, Canada.
Yeah, and over the next week we are doing
insane.
all sorts of epic things, including going ice climbing, which will be a first for me.
Fair enough.
Going snowshoeing.
Yeah, that'd be a first. What, for both of us?
First for both of us. Hiking, because it's so beautiful here.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
also doing something that I know you're gonna love.
What is that?
Going on a helicopter tour!
Jeez, I mean, even just starting off there, you can see the kind of landscape that they are in kind of lends itself to not needing a helicopter. I mean, just because of the vantage point, you're not going to get too much higher. I mean, of course, it is going to be a different experience, but my God, does it just let you see it in basically all its glory without even needing to take to the skies at all. Just look at that endless mountain range that just goes back and back and back, and then of course all the trees dotted in. However, I did have a couple of questions in terms of, they said ice climbing, that makes sense, but snowshoeing, what is snowshoeing? Is that like the big paddle foot things and you can walk across snow because you don't sink in because the pressure's lower? Is that what they're talking about? Because otherwise I've never heard of snowshoeing. It feels like that would be a prank that your siblings would do to you. You know, you wake up in the morning, you try to go to school and you've been snowshoed because they just put a whole boatload of snow in your shoe or something like that. Either way, it certainly sounds like they're going to be off to a fairly good start. I mean, they didn't mention any animal tours, which is surprising. I mean, maybe in part of the hike you'd be able to get some of that, just seeing all the wildlife up in this national park, but otherwise they're ticking boxes.
We are not ready for winter in Alberta.
Now we're ready.
God. Pretty cool.
We were told that if we wanted some of the best views of Banff, we'd have to take the gondola to the top.
And we are about halfway up. The view.
The views are already
I'm
incredible.
going to go for the word epic. What do you think?
Yeah, epic's good.
I think that's a good word.
Awesome, amazing, magnificent.
Oh, I can only imagine, and actually I kind of do know the amount of cable cars that are running all over these mountains, hopefully not too intrusively, but I guess considering they're not dragging them through the mountain, it is actually flying above the treetops or at the treetops, they would be generally okay. Compared to having a road there, you know, you're not having that through traffic of possible collisions, so to say, compared to just having a big cable car. Yes, you have a large just crack in the forest, so to say, but I don't know, I feel like a cable car is a lot less intrusive. It's not as noisy, pollutant and everything like that. So I guess in a way, it is kind of the perfect method of transport for these areas. You know, one, it just serves the purpose of being able to go up, well, cliff faces, but two, it also seems to be fairly environmentally friendly and just built for this entire region. And I wonder, where was the first cable car in the world? Because I wouldn't be surprised. It was actually probably Switzerland or something. That's my guess. But if it was Canada and they invented it, I wouldn't be surprised either. Speaking of being built for the cold weather though, I just want to know where these two grew up, because they are clearly, even if it is for a minute, able just to be surviving the cold, so to say, just in t-shirt and shorts and clearly just nothing long and covering to keep the warmth in like that. I mean, clearly they do want it, and they specified that they weren't ready for their Canadian winter and especially the Banff winter, but even the fact that they went out there and they filmed that, fair play to them. They know what they're doing and they know how to do it well, even if it is only for 20 seconds. That's the classic. Oh,
We've made it to the top, and you've just got to check out these views. What?
that must be where they filmed the intro from. Oh, it's interesting seeing the town there. Just, it almost looks like, I don't know, it looks like it's a weird ground formation, as though the rocks are weird, as though it's an upturned ground. I don't even know how to describe it, but like a massive satellite shot of the earth where you do see these huge gradations in the earth. But just in the town center, because you do have the streets and it looks so far away and it's so dwarfed, you really get to see the size. I mean, it's not going to be a big city, but just the size of the mountains is the perfect viewpoint here. I've never seen anything like that, as I feel as though usually when I see snow villages and ski fields and all the accommodation and town, city, whatever you want to be calling it, as part of the ski fields, I feel like Well, one, they've got the town illuminated and colourful, and it's also more taken from the perspective of the town, not just the generic wide angle that shows you the true scale of these. Also do want to know what this is in the back here in terms of is it frozen or not, because it's clearly a large body of water from what I can gather, being that low and that flat along the along the tree line, so to say, but is it a massive frozen lake? Because that seems to be Canada's forte, just frozen lakes. I always presumed that the UK had it, well, not to the same extent, but the UK did have frozen lakes, but no. Russia, probably, but Canada, absolutely. And I also just forget that they do maintain these things in the summertime and not in winter, as I just go, can you imagine? Oh, actually, no, you don't drive nails home in winter. But here we go, they are getting ready for their ice climb. So different to anything else.
First time ice climbing. Never even rock climbed. I probably should have started with that.
Probably,
Scared.
but it's alright. Oh my god. Jeez.
Yay! This is harder than any workout I've ever done. It's using all my leg muscles, all my arm muscles. My legs are actually shaking, so I'm so scared as well.
Okay. Well, that's one thing. Before we hear you talk about it, there's a difference between it being a hard gym work and you just being adrenalized and so your legs are shaking and that's why your legs feel weak. And that's completely fine, especially for the first timer, even just getting on the wall's cool. But in terms of being pumped and just tired, I would struggle to see how that is the hardest gym workout you've ever done. I mean, this is my ignorance is bliss, but it just looks like it's not that easy. It looks like the tools do the work for you and you're kind of just going along. But at the same time, feel free to let me know. I'm not saying it's easy. It's still climbing up an ice wall, which is clearly going to be using your muscles and everything, but it just looks like the tools do so much of their gripping in comparison to rock climbing where it's all the finger strength.
It's my turn now, and I've got this beast to climb. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped.
Those shoes look so clean. Nice. Oh, see? Oh.
This is brilliant. This is so amazing.
How do you... God. Oh, God.
Ah, that was incredible. Such a good climb.
I feel like that looks so much more, I don't know what to call it besides janky than rock climbing. Just the way that, I guess they are beginners, but the way that he descended that, I feel like you'd be better off trying to walk down it, as it doesn't look like it's a full, it's not a full cliff face. So just slowly walking down is what I would think that you would do in a rock climbing situation, where in this, maybe you don't want to be trying to walk down it because you could slip and then you're going to crash into it and all those kind of things, where you don't really slip on rock. I mean, if it's wet, sure, but there is a lot more friction than ice climbing, that is for sure. And so just to see the shoes doing the work, obviously gripping, but then is it still actually quite slippery? And I mean, I guess you are going to learn to trust the gear, and it probably has a lot more grip than people originally think, because you're going, well, ice is slippery and it's melting around me and I stick the entire axe in and it just breaks off and hits me in the face if I don't get the right spot and all those kind of things. But what is the recommended way to approach ice? Is it really quite different to rock climbing? Because you said, oh, I should have started with rock climbing, but maybe it doesn't actually help you too much, because as much as you might have strength, I don't know, the technique feels completely different.
You can't come to the Canadian Rocky Mountains without getting in the great outdoors, and this is what today is all about.
Yeah, we are hiking, we are snowshoeing, we are definitely finding
Let's see.
a great spot to have some hot chocolate.
What is it about? Ooh, that's not snowshoes, or at least it didn't look like what I was thinking about it.
We've been hiking for about half an hour through the beautiful Marble Canyon you can see behind me here. I mean, it's covered in snow and ice. It's a beautiful winter wonderland, and feeling a bit chilly, so it's time for some hot chocolate.
What, did you bring that, or is it just a random store in the middle of nowhere? And also, where is this snowshoeing? Because we saw her just walking through snow right there, but I didn't see any big-footed feet things, paddles, whatever you want to be calling them, like I expected them to be, if they are truly going to be snowshoeing. I mean, maybe that is just the hike, then they have to be getting to the snowshoeing. They did also show a little, where was it? This little clip, is there anything that makes it look like they have big feet? Not particularly. So it's not what I was expecting in terms of just the triple XL oversized 4 times bigger than your real foot shoe, so you can just truly walk on the snow. With that, they're definitely still sinking in more than you would ever otherwise. However, I am feeling like this entire area, if I can find it, does look like that big area in the back. Oh, is it here? Yeah, maybe that kind of area in the back there, unless it's to the left or around another side of the mountain. It feels like that big white patch is probably this big white patch over here. Oh, it's scenic though, isn't it? Look at that, and the flowing water. It's probably what, like -2 degrees, but it's just flowing. Nice time lapse.
We are at Upper Falls in Johnson Canyon, and as you can see behind me, there are frozen waterfalls everywhere. Yeah, this is a special spot.
Is that what they were climbing earlier? Is that why it had that texture? I don't know what I presumed it would be. I guess it was just water runoff, which I guess is exactly what a waterfall is, but not to this kind of scale that this is. I mean, there is also ice climbing there, I guess, so maybe they're just mixing and matching and cutting up the entire order of events. But just to see a frozen waterfall like that, I'd love to know how it forms. Does it form from the top down, and then you end up just slowly, I guess, decreasing the temperature all the way down the waterfall until you somehow freeze this? But how? How do you freeze flowing water? As we already saw, there was a bit of a spring there that obviously to be able to freeze that seems incredibly difficult because it is flowing. That's the entire thing. I mean, maybe it's a hot spring. It doesn't seem to be. I feel like there'd be a lot less snow around if it was a true hot spring. So it's probably just water runoff. But even then, I don't know. I just want to know, how is that not frozen? Meanwhile, these are truly frozen, just and especially with that cloud-like or even crystal-like. It looks like a mix between a cloud and Superman's cave of crystal. Nice. Perfect views. Oh, the mirror. That was a classic shot right there. It looked like photography, a bit of blur and everything like that, but just that semi-mirror, as much as it might be nice to have the perfect mirror, I feel as though it just gives you better contrast and a better understanding, at least for your brain, to see what's going on, to go, is it flipped? Is it not flipped? I don't know what's going on. Where if you just have a bit of an opaqueness to the water, you can figure it out a little bit more. I also did want to know, and I said it earlier, but how do they maintain all of these paths? Because if it is snowy and kind of inaccessible, at least from a working point of view, for half the year, and something collapses, there's a landslide or there's a problem with anything, how do they go about fixing it? Do they just have to wait until summer comes around and then everything hopefully melts? If it's a short summer or a cold winter and everything like that, then you just have persistent times. But how do you go about just maintaining an entire national park when you can only access it for half a year? Because I feel like in Australia, half the national parks are down and we have them all year round. I mean, I guess in summer, let's say there is a lot of rain sometimes, and so that's where you have the landslides, and then with bushfires, there are special events like that. But still, I feel like there's a lot of time where it's not even as maintained as this, making massive boardwalks or anything remotely close to this. I mean, you might have a bit of a graded path, but no handrail. I mean, speaking of, I have just noticed how low or how tall she really is. There is no way that looks very high at all. It's more of a deterrent than a true handrail. Maybe it's a kid's handrail, if anything, which could make sense as well. Especially just even from the little snippets that we've seen today, doing the snowshoeing and the ice climbing and everything like that, it shows you that whether you're a solo traveler or a couple or a whole family and busload of people, just to be going out here and seeing the winter wonderland. But the natural winter wonderland, especially with some of the views and some of the things you can do, there is very few places that you can get that kind of in touch with nature.